We'll go ahead and get this meeting started. The Payson City Council meeting for November 15th, 2023. And as I stated, at 6 o'clock. Eastman Brady has volunteered to say our prayer.
My dear Heavenly Father, so grateful to be gathered here today, and so grateful for Payson and this beautiful city that we have, and so grateful for this beautiful country and the liberties that we have. And please watch and protect our military, our police, and our firefighters and first responders, and please watch and protect our elected officials, and they'll do what's best for everyone and for our residents. And we're so grateful just to be here today, and just so grateful to live in this amazing country and to enjoy the liberties. And we have a lot to be thankful for in this season. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Tyler Moore's volunteered to lead us in prayer.
Repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to let everyone know that Council Christensen is online with us. Won't be here in person, but he is online. And so as a result of that, all of our motions will have to be roll call individual. Okay, we'll go on to the consent agenda. Number one, approval of the November 1st, 2023 City Council minutes. Number two, resolution Bureau of Reclamation license agreement. Council, unless there's any discussion on the consent agenda, I'm ready for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda. Okay. Until Bob has got his mic on, yeah. So
I'll second that. We have a motion been seconded. Okay, motion carries. We'll start with Council Christensen, so I don't forget. Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Hyatt. Yes. Council Prostard.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. We'll move on to C, petitions. Chamber Business of the Quarter, Jim. I saw you here. Where you at, Jim? Oh, come on up.
First out of the gate tonight, huh?
Yep.
All right. First, the Chamber wants to thank Payson City for your partnership and collaboration this year. We've worked closely on many topics, many events, and I really appreciate the staff and the elected officials and all that you do that make our hometown such a great place to live and work. So thank you for your partnership. And a reminder, Mayor, I just handed you the brochure, but just a reminder for everybody else, an invitation to everybody. We are having our annual awards gala on Thursday night, January 11th at the Benyon Veterans Home. The city has some free tickets coming your way, and you'll have to fight out those free ones, and we'll work it out as we get closer. But Nathan Osmond will be our special guest, and he will make you laugh, cry, enjoy some great music, and hear powerful patriotic stories. And Mayor, this may be for you, but did you know that Nathan has 4 #1 country hits?
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's obviously a very popular name and a well sought after speaker. So again, everybody's invited. Keep an eye on the Chamber website for more information and registration. Tonight, I'm excited to be here to award our Q3 Business of the Quarter to our winner. And if she'd come forward. Diane is the managing broker at ERA Brokers Consolidated. ERA Brokers Consolidated opened its doors in 1982 in St. George, Utah. Since then, they have grown into a multi-state company with 18 locations. They opened their Payson office in October 2022 on historic Main Street in the old Wells Fargo building. Diane is a Payson resident. I thought I was wrong building. Diane is a Payson resident and loves contributing to the betterment of her city by being involved with the community in a variety of ways. She has served on city committees, the Main Street Initiative, the Chamber of Commerce, and her church calling. She is truly a giver, and we are blessed to have her in our city. In Utah County, ERA Brokers has an office at Thanksgiving Point in addition to the Payson location. There are currently 120 ERA broker agents in Utah County to serve all of your real estate needs. ERA helps its customers with buying, selling, property management, and HOA management for residential and commercial properties. ERA Brokers is a brokerage infused with proprietary real estate technology. As part of Brokers Holdings, this organization operates commercial and residential brokerages in Arizona, California, Texas, Nevada, and Utah. With almost 800 agents and staff, they collectively close over 5,000 transactions worth more than $2 billion in value annually. And in addition, they manage nearly 2,500 property management units worth over $1 billion for their clients. I guess fortunately, Diane doesn't oversee all of those billions of dollars in sales, but we are so grateful to Diane for her service on the Chamber Executive Board and all she does to support our community. Congratulations to Diane for this special award as our Business of the Corner.
Something before we do the
Well, I just want to, I love serving in this community. I've been here for 7 years now, and I'm loving having an office in Payson. So we're just on the corner of Main Street and 100 Northwest Oakville, Wells Fargo building. So it's fun to be involved with most of you. I on the committees I serve on, and I'm grateful to serve Payson. Oh, I guess yeah, that's scary. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor. One more. One without.
One without you?
Why?
But you're the man.
You're the winner.
Thank you all.
Okay, going on to number 2, public forum. I'd like to go ahead and open up a public forum that anyone can speak at this public forum as long as it's not on the agenda. And be mindful of the time, 3 minutes if you can limit your comments to that. So we'll go ahead. I know there was a request for Lincoln Hubbard. Lincoln, come on up, Lincoln, if you would. Lincoln's from the Spanish Fork Hospital, Community Relations, right, Lincoln? You from the Spanish Fork Hospital? Identify yourself if you would.
Yeah, time. Well, my name is Lincoln Hubbard. I work at Spanish Fork Hospital with Francis Gibson, who's the administrator there. I think a bunch of you know him. And he is stuck in traffic at the point of the mountain. So I'm saying hi on his behalf. And we like to do the rounds to councils every so often, let you know how much we appreciate your support in the community, and it's our pleasure to serve as well. I haven't got the numbers for this year, but I can tell you we happily delivered over 100 babies for Payson residents last year. We also did 300 other surgeries and did over 1,000 visits to the ER from the Payson area, looking after people as best we can. The hospital is about 2.5 years old, and we are looking to expand already. Where Francis is lobbying for expansions. Bits of the hospital are already operating over 100% of what they were meant to, the imaging services and that kind of thing. So watch the space on that. More news as it's made. I hope to see you around at various functions this tidy along with Francis, and appreciate your support. Is there anything that we should be aware of that you're concerned about in the community that we could look at helping?
Brad, are you on? Did you hear that? Do you have anything?
I don't, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. We have one.
Little disappointed when you pulled your clinic down by Walmart. Wondering what I'm sure it was a business decision, but I know it was busy all the time.
Quite possibly. So the hospital has a clinic right next to it, all in the same building. Personally, I don't think it's very well defined that way. Like everyone thinks it's a hospital, but the clinic is there. And my counterpart in the clinic, we're trying to help the community realize that there's family services there, there's dermatology there, there's urology, there's all kinds of stuff that you would find in the clinic. It is a business decision. It makes sense to have it right next to the very hospital that people sometimes get referred to.
I get that part, but I guess my question or my concern is that where it was a really good convenience for not only the citizenry, but also for the outlying areas, the West Mountain, the Spring Lake, the Sanquin.
Right, the further out.
Yeah, I frequented it.
Well,
family, I tried to stay out.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go there, right? Just a concern, just a
no, I appreciate it. I'll jot that down.
Or plan might look like in the future.
Yeah, future-wise, I'm not entirely certain where that is. Where the hospital is now, Intermountain, an enormous, great big plot, and the physicians are trying to get there. There's a physicians plaza that's going to open early next year. They're just putting in the carpet so it smells nice and that kind of thing. It's easy for physicians to say, we're going to go to the hospital and it's that building right there. So it's very convenient for them. For the further outlying regions, of course, it's further for them to travel in, and they knew where it was in a certain place. So there's expansion that's been taken into account, but not being part of the actual decision when ground was broken and what have you. I don't know if there was more to it than that. And I'm not certain what plans are to build outside of that plot that's there. They'll most likely look to expand that as much as they can first off, because it will be a cost-effective thing.
Yeah. The other thing that you mentioned that you have one within the close to it, there is one stream to the state there, so
yeah,
it's for their convenience, and we'd love to have that.
Okay. All right. You know where to find us if you need us.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Anyone else like to take advantage of the public forum? Anybody online? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just clarify? If we want to talk regarding the annexation.
That would be on the agenda. That would not be on. So thank you for asking my question.
Just want to clarify.
You bet. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public forum, and we'll go on staff reports. Face City staff would like to come on up, please. Thank you.
I'll be brief tonight. I'll just give you an update on Christmas lights, which seems to be very popular this time of year. I think we're fully put up at Petit Neat, so that's 100%. Main Street's probably 3/4-ish, maybe a little more after today. I didn't check on it this afternoon. And then Pioneer Square, where the tree's going to go, we'll start on that Monday. And the last thing we do is put the big spotlights up in Memorial Park. So don't panic if you don't see those. We like to do those right at the end. So that's where we are on.
There'll be something at the monument as you come into town as well.
Yeah, that's Pioneer Park. So right there where the
monument down by
You come right in by the
Family Dollar.
So let me just say yes. Yeah, there will be. I have no idea what that is, but there will be now. For sure. We'll get something. There might be a dinosaur. I mean, we got all sorts of stuff next there. So yeah, okay. Noted. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other staff? Okay, moving on, we'll move on to council reports, starting with Council Beach.
I don't have anything to add tonight.
Okay, so.
I have nothing either.
I didn't have anything, but I do have this. It was delivered to the city office. Inviting the mayor and city council to an event up at the high school by the high school students. You may or may not be aware, the high school students are trying to get Kevin Bacon to come to our city next year because of the 40-year anniversary of Footloose. To this point, it's not been very fruitful. We need to try to get his attention somewhere, but we've been invited to a musical Footloose that will be presented at the high school. It will be on November 16th, 2023. They've invited us to come up to the lounge area at 6 p.m. and give us some so council is probably aware of that ongoing project.
Just a couple things. Since we met last, I'm sure a lot of the citizens, everybody's aware that one of the major power sources that several communities were looking forward to for the future died. There was a press release, UMs sent out a quick response. We had a wonderful Zoom meeting that explained the particulars, and I'd be more than happy to talk about those particulars in detail at a later date.
Because some of those details weren't
What it basically meant is there is a new generation of nuclear power that generates about 4 times the power for about 1/10 of the nuclear, the rods that are required. It was to be built up on a current project, a nuclear project in Idaho Falls, and Payson City, foreseeing the future, bought into that. Several, all the way to New Mexico. I believe there was New Mexico people on.
Like 60
cities
or something.
Salt Lake, I mean, everybody bought it. But they had to meet a certain threshold for it to be viable for them to start to the construction phase. They had already received approvals on about 80% of the project and was waiting for those other approvals to come. They felt like that it was in the best interest, both UMs and Nuclear, that who was going to build the project, to cut their losses due to a bunch more regulations and unsubscription. They didn't meet the subscription. So that has sent UMs, and UMs for all of you, that is the kind of the major power broker supplier of all of Utah, whether it's Rocky Mountain, whether it's whoever. They help cities and authorities buying power. And so it sent them scrambling. They said that they would immediately go after more wind, more solar to offset this. Doesn't mean nuclear is dead, but it's on hold for now. Payson City participated financially in that to get the project going. And we were assured in that call that we would receive, as part of the negotiate when we entered that agreement, that Payson City would receive 100% of funds that we participated, which was quite substantial. So while I'm saddened that power source is gone, I'm excited with what our power department is proposing, and while it's a stopgap, I say let's move forward faster than ever before. So I would also like to take 1 minute and thank staff, namely Kent Bowden and Travis. 2 weeks ago, we were presented with an issue from a citizen on a development that, quite frankly, hadn't met their obligations. And the contractor stepped up and met those obligations. And the concerned homeowner, resident of Payson City, came into that day and signed a letter saying that he accepted the work that had been done. So shout out to Travis and Kent Bowden for following up on that. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Councilor Christensen, you have something for us?
Nope, I'm good today. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to D action items. Public hearing / ordinance request to extend the municipal boundaries to encompass the property included in the proposed RNC number 2 annexation. Michael, you're up.
Okay, so this is the intersection of the proposed RNC number 2 annexation. You can see this is a Google image, and this is the county coordinates for the roads going north-south and going east-west. So 9600 south here and 3550 west. Moving on. Giving you an aerial view here, and this is just kind of a quick little zoom in video that you can kind of see the area. And so the area would encompass right in here. Just a few things about annexations in general. These are legislative actions of the city council. It's a tool that the city can use to grow in a smart manner. Annexation should follow the adopted city's plans for growth and expansion. And typically annexations are accompanied by some sort of an annexation agreement. The agreements can have a variety of things in them, but these bullet points here are typically what are most assured in annexation agreements. Any questions on any of this thus far? Okay. So more specifically, the area proposed in the RNC annexation, I gave the address already for the county coordinates. It's approximately 40.5 acres, and you can see the property owners here that it includes. 2 of the property owners, the Carrolls and the Lurwells, were non-petitioners in this, meaning that they didn't sign the annexation petition. That's a little small to see there, but this is the Thatcher property. This is the Carroll property. This is Justin Hill. I can't read that one. Is that Clegg? This is Lurwell here. This is also Justin Hill. That one's Justin Hill. Oh, sorry, Moore. This one's Justin Hill, and I can't read that one either. Lee Hill property. So with this particular annexation, the petitioner is requesting an I-1 light industrial zoning. That zoning is conducive to what our future land use map shows in our general plan. A few things in the annexation agreement that would be required are as follows. And I'm not going to read all of those. I'll just leave those there for a moment for you to look at them. But some of the big ones were the city wants to ensure the transportation network. And so we don't want to have dead end roads and cul-de-sacs there. We want to make sure that the transportation network works well. This is typical of all annexations. The parcels will comply to the zoning code and any development ordinances that we have. if and when they develop differently. So as they come into the city, even though they may be, for example, more of an A5 type of use, and the property were to be zoned I1, they could continue to do whatever they're doing on their property now. But if and when that property sells for development or they want to do something different, they're going to have to conform to what's our current city land use codes. And then the last one on here is something that's going to be required of all annexations, Jason, for the next 5 years, is that right? And or at least this is the negotiated rate for the next 5 years. So any connections to SESD power coming into Payson City will have to pay the amount of $15,500 per connection. And so the annexation sponsor will be paying that on behalf of all of these properties.
And just so you're all aware, prior to the agreement has not been signed as of yet, but it is close. There's some CPI issue that's kind of a holdup as of right now. But going forward, after the 5 years, it goes back to what it's been, is developer or slash sponsor goes to SESD and negotiates whatever number SESD gives them for the brand new annexations. It doesn't apply to anything that's already been annexed pre-98 or in the interlocals. Those are treated a little bit differently in the agreement. This is just applying to the new annexations.
Any questions on anything on this particular slide? Okay.
What's CPI? Certified Consumer Price Index.
So in closing with this presentation, Planning Commission recommends approval as proposed. And staff also recommends approval. And then some of the conditions that staff is recommending is the light industrial designation. The applicant agrees to all the terms of the annexation agreement, which includes primarily one of the largest terms is that 15,500 transfer cost for each of those connections. I believe there's 6. Correct.
So I want to say SESD once we give them notice. No, I believe it's 6.
Any other questions? Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Michael. We'll go ahead after that presentation, and I'll ask for a motion to open a public hearing. And I'd like to let everyone know here that the public hearing is for you and for your discussion. I would advise our city council that you go ahead and make that presentation that you have prepared. And then our turn after the public hearing will be to close it and then have council discussion after the public hearing. So we'll ask and one other thing. I know this is an emotional issue for many of you, and it is for us as well. But please keep in mind that the quorum is something that we need to pay attention. Okay. We have a motion and then seconded to open the public hearing. We'll go with roll call vote, starting with Council Beecher.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Proscar. Yes. Council Hyatt. Yes. Council Christensen.
Yes.
Okay. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Please step to the mic, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know who you are, and please be mindful of the time. Take the time that you need, and just be aware that if things begin to start repeating over and over again, I will be liberal with it, but at some point in time, I'll just say, well, we've heard enough, and we'll move on to the next part. So thank you for being here.
Michael, would you happen to have a copy of the general plan?
I do have the general plan. I will let this gentleman talk and I'll hold up.
Thank you.
Okay, thought I would get to the mic first. My name is Lance Wilson, and I came to the council a couple of months ago. Very passionate about this topic, and I hope that I'm able to convey my words in a dignified and respectful manner, but also convey the passion that I feel about this. I also wrote my comments down so that I wouldn't miss anything. I received this letter back in August from Payson City, informing me of the proposed annexation that we're talking about. This letter explained that a written protest could be filed no later than September 14th, 2023. Several of my neighbors and I drafted such letters of protest. On the night of September 6th, many of us residents came to this city council meeting, and we voiced our concerns and expressed our opposition to this annexation, as well as the master plan of Payson City. A few weeks later, I received a letter in the mail from the Utah County Attorney's Office, and guess what it said? It explained to me that my letter of protest was rejected under the recently passed Utah state legislation, UCA 10-2407, preventing any protest to be valid unless the property owner, one, owned property within the proposed annexation, and two, you must own at least 1,000 acres within the proposed annexation. So we're talking about 40 acres here, and yet you can't protest unless you have 1,000 acres. Think about that. Do you see the hypocrisy with that? I realize that's not a law put forth by Payson City, but in general, that is a very hypocritical law. How can someone protest the annexation of this land when it is only 40 acres and the derelict law requires 1,000 acres to have a voice? The irony that the city invites property owners to protest the annexation, knowing that because of the law, the legislation in our state, no one can protest this annexation unless they come to this meeting and voice a concern. I asked Mayor Wright, how can this be? How can we have a voice of change in this process? And the response I got was, where were you when this area was being zoned under the master plan? You and your neighbors should have had a voice, should have voiced your concerns then. Now that the master plan has been made, the process is too far down the road. And I've thought about that comment a lot, and it's not set well with me, Mayor. Last week, I attended the Payson City Planning Commission. This meeting where the agenda included the Spring Creek Area Specific Plan, which some of you may know about. In that planning meeting, where residents in the impacted area should have had a voice at the grassroots level, just like Mayor suggested, where there should have been a chance to really provide feedback, to have an impact for good, most importantly in the area where they live, what I observed was not so at all. I watched as resident after resident stood at this microphone and pleaded with the Planning Commission to reconsider where the city would build those roads and develop industrial business parks and high-density housing. The response from the commission was, these people don't understand government. And if you oppose this, or any of the master plan, go ahead and write a letter of protest. That was the response. Write a letter of protest. Now, who doesn't understand government? The citizens or the planning commission?
Just one comment. Try to make your comments just specifically.
I will.
Next area, because we do have a Spring Lake one later, but that has.
Okay. Spring Creek.
Spring Creek.
So this letter of protest, to who? Who can we write this letter of protest to? The Utah law prohibits us from protesting. The city won't give residents a voice at the grassroots level. The city approves their plans and passes them on to the city council with complete disregard for the property owners affected. And then members of the council make comments to those of us who come to these meetings by saying, well, it's got to go somewhere. Do you see the insanity of this whole process? Which just doesn't make any sense. I have encouraged Mayor and Robert Mills to consider amending the master plan and redrawing the boundaries for industrial zoning to prevent illegitimate annexations like this. I am told that some on the city council are opposed to any discussion about changing the master plan and any zoning changes for our area. Why? Why would you be opposed to talking about this? Who are you representing that would deny us as property owners and residents this right to have a seat at the table? You're certainly not representing the majority.
Your allegiance instead seems to be in the pockets of the developers and the minority individuals who have the sway of the field before the public even knows. Government is created to protect the property of people. This annexation directly affects 4 residential homeowners who will now have industrial structures in their backyard. What about the next annexation? How many residents will that one affect? Currently, the master plan of Payson City has approximately 60 single-family homes within the zone for future industrial development, both inside and outside of the city limit. This doesn't even come close to the number of residential homes within a quarter mile of the city's industrial zoning, like my home. We are not talking about 100-year-old homes in disrepair and ready to be bulldozed. Many are homes built in the last 10 to 20 years with families like mine that have no plans to sell anytime in the next 50 years plus. If mayor and city council have their way, our homes and farms will be surrounded by 2- and 3-story warehouses, like the ones we're now seeing erected on Main Street in Payson and that will soon be erected in this proposed annexation. Again, I'm not talking about a small number of homes that have reached their end of economic life. Inside this proposed annexation, as well as the master plan, are found, as I stated earlier, many homes that are a significant investment for their owners. These are families that are not selling anytime soon and could easily have 40 or 50 years of economic life left in these structures. If you're a developer, you got to do the math. It makes no sense to try and annex land and buy these properties at top dollar and then figure out how to get the infrastructure paid for, like SESD, to industrialize this area when there are homes already on these properties. So instead, Payson, your plan is to build warehouses around these homes and have these homes surrounded by industrial buildings. This is a concern for me. The last thing, and I'll finish with this, I am aware that it is public knowledge that the applicant for this annexation, one of the applicants, is a relative of one of our city council members here. This alone should necessitate a recusal from voting on this issue. But what me and my neighbors are asking for is not only a recusal from Councilman Provostgaard, but we are also asking for a pause on this annexation until the 3 seats on the city council are filled at the current election. Please give this matter more thought and allow those new council members a chance to be included in this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come on up here?
Good evening, council members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Thank you for your leadership and to staff. I appreciate the work that has gone into this, and I also appreciate the opportunity to listen to the community. It's easy to make decisions when everybody agrees, and I absolutely understand when what everybody wants to do.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Quinn Kells. I live at 9455 South, 3950 West.
Thank you. Didn't want to interrupt you, but we need
thank you for the reminder. But when what the voice of the overwhelming majority of people want conflicts with government interests, I understand that the decisions become hard to make. Other than the petitioner, no one is asking the city to urbanize these rural communities. Other than the petitioner, nobody is coming to the council and asking you to convert the landscape that currently exists to be industrial. Payson is a special place for a reason. Everywhere you go in Utah, if you say you're from Payson, people say, oh, that's a beautiful community. It's not because of the beautiful industrial buildings, but it's because of the current landscape and the rural community that we have. I would ask that you please listen to the unified voices on this matter and not approve the petition that has been presented to you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up. Just as a reminder, so I don't have to interrupt you, please identify yourself.
My name is Dwayne Clough. My wife Belinda and I are new additions to the community. We live on 9292 South 3950 West. Sorry if I get a little emotional. I'm a 28-year-old veteran. 28 years as a veteran, sorry. I'm more than 28 years old. My wife and I have seen a lot of the country, seen a lot of the world. We have been through many houses. We've slowly upgraded over the years until we could get a dream house and a dream property in a peaceful, beautiful community. Feeling a little threatened by the current plans, would like to see Payson remain a peaceful residential community. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Oh, thank you. Hello, I'm Kurt Lester. I live just off 9600, just over the railroad tracks there. I guess one of my concerns, infrastructure-wise, obviously it has to do with a lot of the state roads that we have. The off-ramp right now is pitiful for the current trucks that we have now. There, I mean, if you were law-abiding, I guess, if you were to say coming off the going south, to make that corner, those trucks have to swing clear into oncoming traffic to try to make that corner. The other side, you know, they have to inch out into traffic that, you know, impede traffic. And I'm not blaming the truckers at all. I mean, they're just trying to manage what they got now, right? And coming off 9600, they have the big trucks with the pups have to be clearing the left-hand turn lane to make a right-hand turn. So, I mean, it seems to me, and I don't know what the state maybe I'm ignorant on their plan in this, but I would hope if we're going to be adding to this problem with more trucks, that this in particular would need to be resolved first. I've seen, you know, been living in this area for over 30 years, but I've never seen so many near misses or you know, kind of hand gestures between individuals in that area. I mean, it becomes, you know, a discourse that doesn't need to be. And you know, Payson people are good people, and I'm not necessarily blaming the truckers at all that are running, because they got no other choice to maneuver through what is inadequate presently. So I would hope, and I'm not sure what the state's plan is or what you guys have talked with them, but this whole intersection right here has to be resolved before you would think that you would bring even more trucks with the additional problems that we have now. And I would just hope you take that into consideration. Thank you. So just 1 second. So I guess we got somebody online, and then we'll address your concerns.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. I do thank you for making it possible for me to view and to comment. My name is Fernando Carroll. I am one of the non-petitioners that was listed. My address is 9762 South, 3550 West. Thank you. So I just wanted to make a few comments and a request. I'll try and keep it brief. You've already heard me in a previous council meeting and my opposition to this annexation, and it does impact my family, my property. I'm seeing in the presentation that I just saw, I'm seeing a few things. Thank you for your consideration of the existing residential properties and your plan as you discuss you discuss and plan out this zoning. There was mention of an annexation agreement. When I went to oppose the petition, one of the concerns that I had is the imposition of additional costs that would be, imposed on us. Like, do I have to put in curb and gutter? Do I have to put in sewer? Do I have to tie into the city water? And the response from the city was that that would depend on the annexation agreement. And I heard comment that, well, this agreement is already, it's not signed, but it's done. And I haven't even seen this, but it impacts my property. So I would request that at the very least, the property owners impacted be notified about this agreement, preferably consulted and be given an opportunity to negotiate or agree to the agreement. Not just, especially where we have opposition to the annexation. It seems like there's two parties negotiating about what's going to impact a third party. So the two parties would be, the corporation, the Payson City Corporation, and the sponsor, and it's impacting more than just those two parties. Hopefully that can at least hopefully we have an opportunity to at least review it and put in some input before it gets signed into law. The SESD transfer cost, that's one thing that I was concerned about also, is like I'm being forced into the city to a higher power cost. So my electricity bill is going to go up, and that's for life. It's not just for that 15,500 or whatever. And so the utility is being compensated for losing a customer, me. Meanwhile, I have to pay additional costs. Where's the compensation there? And who's the beneficiary here? It's the person who's annexing and developing the land all around me. Another comment I wanted to make is about the zoning. The sponsor, Mr. Justin Hill, told me directly that he doesn't want that. He pointed across the street at Everstage Apartments. He says, I don't want that over here. I want to preserve open space. I want single residence lots with large plots. And now I'm finding out that it's I-1 zoning. So, I mentioned already that there were, sorry, I do get emotional here about this. Obviously, I'm invested in it because it's impacting our way of life here that we adopted, that you have adopted us into in rural Payson, West Mountain. So my concern is that there were misrepresentations made at the time of the petition and when the neighbors were consulted to sign on to the petition. And I wonder how many of those neighbors now might remove their supporting signature, knowing what the outcome and the agreement is now. So, I don't know. I'm probably over time. I just want to say, like I did last time, you and the city council are in a position to make decisions that will impact us. And if you can just put yourselves in our place, in our shoes, and what this means. I don't know if we have a horse property. That's why we moved out there. Our daughter is a hunter jumper. We're at nationals right now, and that's why I'm calling in on Zoom. And I'm here to watch her ride and to support her. And I want to know that when we need to move, can I sell that property as a horse property now or not? Because now it's industrial. And is that going to impact my property value and my resale value as well? All these concerns I have. I know I should probably come in and talk to somebody at the city about it, but just wanted to express those concerns and get them noted. Thank you.
Well, we're ready for you. I'm James Samuels. I'm at 9200 South and 4400 West. I grew up out there. I'm a half mile from my childhood home. And it's already just nuts and just trying to navigate. I drive truck for a living. and I make deliveries out that way to the farms. And trying to get off our exits is a joke. You know, if you're going southbound, you're great. You got a light you can use. But if you're going north, you're kind of out of luck. And things like that just need to be addressed. I mean, I know progress has to happen. Things got to be built somewhere. But I'm not liking the idea that close to home. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Okay.
I'm Noreen Lurwell. We're the other home that's a non-petitioner. And I just want to say I have the most incredible neighbors and Cluffs. Sorry. And I feel your pain. The word threatened when Dwayne said, I feel threatened. I live across from Eversage. We're weary. We're weary. And I feel like there's just no voice. I feel like when on our way to meeting tonight, I said to Robert and Max, it feels pointless, but it's like losing a ball game and walking away before the final inning. And that's what this feels like. Bill, you said this is emotional for you guys too. Any one of you want to share how it's emotional?
I will, Noreen.
I appreciate that, Bob.
But we'll wait till it's our time. Yeah. Okay.
But I would like to know how I feel placated. We don't feel listened to. We didn't when Eversage came in and when the next development came in. Like I said, we have the best neighbors. And so look to your hearts just a little. You know, is there any reason to not slow down? Is there not any reason to rethink? When we came to the meeting years ago with the clickers, was it a done thing then? I mean, was it a done deal?
Talking to a different council.
Yeah, but was it a done deal?
We'll address that.
Yeah, and I would like to know. We're probably, Matt, you can put a fork in Fernando and the Carrolls and the Lurwells. You can put a fork in, but I have wonderful neighbors, so this is for them.
Anyone else? Come on.
You know, I wasn't planning on speaking. I pretty much said my piece in September. Oh, Bob Rasmussen, 9352 South, 3950 West. Putting a light industrial zone in a rural area, in an area where the residents that live there don't want to be annexed, don't want to be part of Payson City right now, and putting something in there that you don't want to put in your own city limits right now, I think it's just almost unspeakable. If you want more light industrial, put it in with your own residents today. Don't come out into a rural area where we've created a lifestyle and build our dreams and take that away from us. After finishing at BYU, I lived in Orem for 7 years and Provo for 18. And in all those years, people would say, oh, you're from Orem or you're from Payson. And all those years, I'd never agree with them. I'd always say, I live in Provo, but I'm from Payson. Please don't make me ashamed because of your actions of doing these kinds of things to these kind of people, of saying that I was from a city that I've loved all my life and infringe on our property rights. And as I mentioned last time, I want to remind you one more time, your responsibility as a city official is to protect the rights of property owners and not line the pockets of developers. Thank you.
My name is Harrison Oldham. I currently live out 4866 West, 10 South, Payson, Utah. But concerning this development here, Brother Rasmussen just got up. I do custom farming. I do a lot of cutting and baling of hay, and plowing and planting. I do hay. I was born and raised in West Mountain. I have to go get a real job just so I can afford to keep farming. But like I said, I bale Bishop Rasmussen's hay. There's a lot of you guys who have property in that area that I do the hay there. And so it's not much, but it's a way of life for me. And I have 2 young boys. One's going to be turning 3. One's 3 months old. And I'd love nothing more for them to have a similar upbringing of what I had. But if this all turns into a concrete jungle, they're not going to have that, you know. And people say, well, you can move to Delta, you can move these other places. Those other places don't have a water system like we have out here. The last few years of droughts, we haven't had any water restrictions because of Strawberry Reservoir. There's a lot of these places, surrounding areas, they don't have the water. They don't have the capacity to produce the agriculture that we do here in Payson. And, you know, hope it never happens, but what happens when you can't go to Walmart anymore and get your groceries or Smith's or Payson Market, and all the farm grounds bought up, and now we have to ship it in from somewhere else, but you can't get it because, so I'm just saying, hopefully it never gets to that point. But let's look at the big picture, what's really important. Money comes and goes. Let's keep this lifestyle.
My name is Suzanne Kellis. Our property is at 9455 South, 3950 West. We are fairly new to Utah. We have never been to a meeting like this that was opened with a prayer. And I thought that was really beautiful and wanted to share that. My appreciation for that. If you'll be patient with me, let me just give you a little bit of background. We came to Utah, leaving a home that we had lived in for 30 plus years, a community that we had helped build. I wouldn't say we were forced out, but in a way, we were at a meeting similar to this where 300 people showed up in favor of my husband and his job. And there was a council that kind of folded their arms and didn't listen to a single person there. And because of that, we left. And one of the lessons that I learned from that is I have this deep hope that people can come to the table, not with folded arms and closed ears, but with a willingness to hear people, to hear their hearts, to support the will of people, not business, or that life and people. That's where I come from tonight, with a desire for all of these people, these good people that live in Payson, who've come here for a way of life, to be heard. I guess that's my time. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Patrick Kirby. I live at 9600 South, or 4650 West, 9600 South. So if I'm not mistaken by the image you got there, I'm probably on the edge of the second expansion, but I have a little bit of a question. So I drive down 9600 South every day. not this particular board, meaning these individuals sitting here, but was the, I want to say it was sewer line that went down 9600, was that passed through a committee such like this in doing and developing and processing? Was that passed through a committee such like this?
When we have a chance with our comments, I want to.
Okay, I'm just asking so that I'm clarifying it. Then I would like for everybody in the room to please raise your hand if you drive down 9600 every single day. Any members of the board? Okay, so what I want to get at is you can make a plan. You can think you're doing the right thing. You can look at the numbers. You can say, hey, it's going to be the best thing. But if you don't have a good plan, you have a horrible product. And that road and how that sewer system came through, horrible product. Okay, so you might think you know what's going on, but that shows me that sometimes the committees might think they know what they're doing and they don't listen to the people, and then it shows by a product that's now very much, to me, an eyesore of Payson. I get it if the roads wear out, but that wasn't even done right first. So please think about that as you try to plan the future of our lives and our property. Thank you.
Another one. Okay, wonderful. What was the name? Patty, can you hear us, Patty? Sounds like you're muted, Patty.
Sorry. I'm actually home and I'm actually home. I'm having the privilege of attending a brand new grandchild.
Okay, time's yours.
And I'm sorry.
The time's yours.
Thank you very much. I wish I could be surprised by the council's decision. Unfortunately, I'm not. There's a part of me that hoped that the meetings we attended, both at Lance Wilson's house and there at the city council, really were true, that our voices could be heard. And yet, in the pit of my stomach, I knew that the decisions had already been made and that it really didn't matter. But I had faith in democracy. I'm just so disappointed in Payson City Council and the Planning Commission that I felt like we've been strung along, pretending that we had rights, pretending that we had a voice. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm telling you my sincere feelings. This world is evil, and it's all about money, and it's all about power and control. And I was hoping that you had the foresight and the vision that I had when I moved to Payson, that people could drive along the freeway and see a beautiful place for people to move, where they could have land and families, and we'd have a great community, and it would be a safe place where people could raise their children in freedom and love and in good values. I never thought I would be looking at along the freeway cement and buildings and industrial stuff like Salt Lake. I drive along there and along Lehigh, and I used to think, I feel sorry for those people. I feel sorry that when people drive by, they don't see a place where families can grow. It's all about, let's just fill up that land with whatever we can and whatever property taxes we can get. And I just had hope and faith in the council that we wanted to have along the freeway a banner that said, Payson City is a city of families. It's a city for you to raise your children, to have wonderful education, parks and recreation, and a place where people matter more than concrete and money. And I'm just disappointed, so disappointed and disheartened. I thought this would happen, and I just prayed that I was wrong. I don't feel listened to. I appreciate the time you spent. I don't know why the time was, why we were misled, but for whatever reason we were. And I love you, neighbors. I appreciate the fight you've tried to lead and to give, and I'll continue to be devoted to you. And I just hope Payson City thinks about the future and about foresight, not about the moment. And one last comment. I really think that Noreen Laurel had a great point. What's the rush? What's the rush? Anyway, thank you.
That you come up, please come up. We're getting to the point where the same thing's being said over and over again. I don't want to unnecessarily stop you, but that's where the point.
Absolutely. I'm Abby Finlinson. I live at 3772 West, 9200 South. My property butts up against my brother's, and this is, I think, has not been said tonight. My family has had that property for over 100 years. And my husband and I planned on passing that property down to our children and their children. But if this goes through, this will be industrial. And it butts up against the back of our property. And so nothing is stopping it from coming to us. Now I can stay there, but I can't sell my home. It can't be industrial and residential. So I can't pass my home down to my children or that property. It will be zoned industrial. My uncle was a mayor. My ancestors founded this city. And that property has been in our community of families, like I said, for hundreds of years. And that's the biggest reason that I oppose this annex.
I want to unnecessarily cut you off, but if there's one more individual who would like to get up and speak, we'd be glad to hear you. Mayor? Let's wait until let's just wait until we see if anybody else would like to do that.
Trying to discourage everybody not to stand up, because you're saying that we're saying the same thing over, but that's part of why we're here.
And that's fine, and I understand that, but it's not going to get any different than it already has.
But voices should be heard.
That's fine. That's why I'm saying one other person can get up here if they would like. At some point, we do have to cut it off. I'm not against people talking.
Right, because who's paying the salary?
That's okay. I said my piece, you said your piece. If somebody would like to come up, I'm welcoming them to do that. If not, then we'll move on. Okay. I'll go ahead and ask the city council if they would give me a motion to close the public hearing.
No. Mayor, I'm going to ask to excuse myself. I've been reminded by wonderful people that I have a sister and a brother-in-law that's involved. I've got viral texts. You want to see them? I'll show them to you, reminding me that I have family involved in this. So I'm going to excuse myself from the vote, but I'm going to speak as a citizen of Payson, if that's okay, Mayor. My name is Bob Proscard. I'm a lifelong resident of Payson City. I was born in 1956 in 2 offices right behind where you're sitting, right there in this very building. I graduated from Payson High School in 1974. And as I graduated, several of my friends began to move away. I left on a mission. I come home, and all of my best friends that I went to high school with had moved away. And so I had the opportunity to talk to them. Why did you move? There were no jobs in Payson. There was nothing to keep them here. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to stop that families leaving, as you all talked about families tonight, and find a way to keep them here. In the late 80s, I was appointed to the Planning Commission. I took upon myself the opportunity to take some classes and to be educated on urban, rural, and city development. I served with some of the greats on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I served with Brent Tuttle, who is a land engineer. I served with John Cowan, who was a regular citizen of Payson that just wanted what was the best for Payson city residents. In the early 90s, I was elected onto the city council, and I served on the city council. And we immediately, under the direction of Jill and others, went to work on updating our general plan. For years, I sat here for public hearings to take public input, and maybe 1, 2, or 3 people would show up, maybe 2 or 3 written comments. We posted it in our city billings. We posted it everywhere we could to take public input. Most recently, this council took public input 4 years ago on updating the master plan. It was vetted.
Just 1 second.
Listen, I expect you guys to give me the same respect we've given you. I represent 25,000 people. And I understand there's a neighborhood here. I get that. But I want to tell you an experience that I had. We were forced by the state, and Lance, just so you know, those are state laws. Payson City, if we had it our way, dude, we want to hear that stuff. We really do. If you would have been to council last time, you heard me protest that the legislature just enacted other items that has caused the city council to totally diminish their power. Totally. So I get your pain. I am offended by some of your comments.
That's fair.
The mayor and I are not on the take. We are good Payson City residents. We've lived here our entire life. I've known Bill and Linda my entire life, 67 years. And I believe them to be of the most up integrity, never to do a backroom deal. Never. And if you can prove that we have, man, I'll tell you, you've proved something that isn't a backroom. Is that true, Mayor? We updated the master plan a few years ago. When the truck lane was put in, which you all affectionately know as 9600, it became the truck route, right? We all have called it the truck route for years. It comes over from Utah Avenue, it comes around, and it goes up to the freeway. And by the way, the freeway is very outdated. But if you've been paying attention, Payson City received $110 million from the legislature for the new freeway exchange that will be beginning shortly. When I say shortly, you know how the state moves, and it's pretty slow, but it's going to happen. We have that first funding. I had the opportunity to go to travel and pave my own way and visit Canac in Chicago, Illinois, and we courted them hard. They entertained, they have welders, they had fabricators. We were lucky enough to bring Canac to Payson. And I actually seen high school kids that graduated go to work there. I was tickled to death. I had absolutely made a way that our family could stay here. Since that time, in the past 30 years, I have continued to serve for the city. Recently, we announced that UVU and that MTech was coming to Payson. Through hard negotiations and through hard ways, we found a way to educate our children further so that they could not only get, if they didn't want a degree and they wanted applied technology, we now have that way coming. We believe in it so much that Payson City's invested $1 million with MTech to have space there that we can have anybody that would like to go down there as a startup business and help receive some training on how to do that. in Payson's own facility. 50 over, I gotta make sure I got this right. Over 50% of our growth. Over 50% of our growth is our families. I just heard a lady talk about wanting to give the property to her children and her children's and her children. Where are you going to put them when you won't run out of room? Growth is inevitable,
Not
guys.
in commercial buildings.
We need to just let you talk. We let you talk, please. Okay?
Yes, that's what I talked about the core.
That's okay. We're having a great conversation here. I'm looking at it at a different perspective than you guys are. But I'll give you my perspective in one moment. 50%, over 50% of our growth is our families wanting to stay in Payson, wanting to come back and stay in Payson. Where do we put them, you guys? Where do we give them their jobs? We put that boundary, that truck line boundary in there and made that industrial in the 90s. It has not changed. Jill, am I right? It's been that way since the 90s, you guys. Why all of a sudden are we panicking? I heard a comment say, I can't believe that I would wake up in the morning and look at a big concrete building. Half you guys made your living in those concrete buildings elsewhere. I heard another comment say that I can't believe that you would take farmland and pave it and concrete it. Some of you that spoke the other night have paved more farmers' land with asphalt in his career than I dare to count. You guys, we don't want to take on the NIMBY effect. Does anybody know what NIMBY means? It's called, you can have it in Provo and Orem, but not in my backyard. Really? We've got families, you guys. I've got grandkids now. They're going to want places to live around me. The greatest accomplishment that I think we've done is we managed to grow and manage the growth. We're not a Spanish Fork. We're not a Springville. We're Payson. We've kept the Payson hometown feel. We've come up with new ways of bringing our citizens together even more. This summer, we had our first adventure days. We're trying to do everything we can for families to come and to enjoy the community spirit that Payson has. I'm proud of what I've done in the last 30 years. And yep, some of you have mentioned it's time for you to step down, and I am. I'll be done in December. My wife and I have other goals we'd like to do, but I will leave with my head held up high, saying the businesses that we brought and the developments that we brought to Payson has benefited 25,000 people. Now, to talk about this is in your backyard, in the late 90s, a new legislative thing come out that said that we needed to try to get more affordable housing. And what it would mean is if you had an existing duplex or fourplex, you could add on to it as long as you connected it and make more housing on the same property. And I voted for it. I thought, you bet, let's help people become more affordable. The first project was built was next door to me. He connected by a 3-foot wide by 4-foot piece, an addition from his existing duplex onto another duplex. I took my own medicine. And while I wasn't real happy with it, I've had some of the most wonderful neighbors over the years from those people living in that duplex. They looked right into my backyard. You want to see it? Come drive down my driveway. You'll see it. But they've become the best neighbors I could ever have asked for. Guys, we're going to grow. Help us grow for our families to come here. Help us to supply the jobs. Help us to do those things that we can maintain the small fill, the small hometown fill, but yet we can be a community that takes care of our families. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, I'll take a motion from the council to, close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion been seconded to close the public hearing. Roll call vote starting with Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Prostar.
Close, yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Close.
I'll close the public hearing.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council, you've heard the information from the staff presentation. You've heard the input from the public that is directly affected by the annexation. Are there any further council discussions?
Mayor, if I could for just a minute here. I'm probably not gonna be able to stay on much longer, but I just wanted to put in a conflict there. Justin Hill is also my wife's uncle. So with that information, I'm going to recuse myself as well from this vote, which will leave it on the hands of the three council left behind. But I'd like to agree with the things that Bob Proscard had to say, that it is important that we understand that we've got to have those jobs. We need to move forward. We tried to find the best locations to put those light industrial areas, and felt that with the access to the freeway, with the rail line running right through that area, that it seemed like a good place to us to put it and discuss that in the planning of this city plan. And it is unfortunate that that's where it places things, and that it comes back and it does affect people and their dreams and their heritage. I hope that it never ever devalues the value of somebody's property, and that everything that we do maintains that there is value in everything. But I just like to leave that with that and then abstain from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Okay, at that juncture, I'd like to ask the council for a motion on the item.
More discussion.
Okay, if you have any more discussions, we have some more discussion.
Are the petitioners here? Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't mind talking with them. So, do you have any comments before I ask some questions?
My name is Justin Hill, just for the record. I appreciate these type of meetings to where, you know, it may not seem like it is, but this is the place that we live in a free country, and we have these opportunities to speak our opinion. So I do appreciate everybody coming out, whether it be for or against. Today it's all against, and I get that, but that's your right, and I appreciate that. But on the other end, as this all started out, I just want to build a shop. I just want to build a shop, and that's where it began. And now it's got to this. So
there was a comment I thought earlier that said that you thought it was going to come in as low density residential.
No, it's never been that from staff one. It's always been light industrial. It's been told to me. So I've never been led that that's going to be single family homes or anything like that.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
I've always been against the high density housing moving out that way, like we have across the street.
Questions. That was my main one. I wanted to hear an answer to that.
Yep.
Any of the council discussion?
Yeah,
okay.
The gentleman there that was talking about the road, I totally agree with you. If you're going to put, because even if you did your ground right there in front of you and made it wider, that's not going to make it wider all the way up to the main road. I mean, it is getting bad. Like what you described with the diesels and stuff. I'm behind them and they're going over here. There's people trying to turn to come out on 96. Right? They can't. It's like, I've never seen it like this before. And I know that they're building other stuff there because there's all the cars along that road. but I think we need to look at before, and I'm not saying I would vote for this, but I feel that we need to look past your area, because you will do what you need to do, but then it's gonna bottleneck into that terrible area, and there's not gonna be anybody to fix that.
Only problem is you're not having control over that road.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is.
That's ridiculous.
It's something that.
It's either a county or a state. It's not.
We get touched with.
So, the state, I would imagine.
But all I'm doing is creating a bottleneck there again.
You know as well as I do that.
I know it breaks it. I just don't want anybody to die before something happens.
Okay, council, anything else?
And I want everybody to know I'm sorry about that, because I didn't know about the 1,000 acres. I did not know that. I thought you could protest and we would take it on. We just discussed this a couple weeks ago, but
that's a fairly new legislative edict from the state.
At the planning commission, though, we were told, well, this is our plan. If you don't like it, write a letter of protest. And I'm like, you don't even know the law.
no, they probably would know, because they haven't. You guys haven't presented that to them, have you?
More reason why this should be.
So the other concern I have then is 9600. We're not annexing anything.
Annexing the entire road to the north side. If I read that declaration right.
Is that correct, Michael?
No, 9600 will remain a county road. It's
That's what I thought.
it's south of 96.
It's across the road from the apartments.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
so 400 west.
400 west or 35.
3550.
30 we
and then all the way,
but we only annex to the north property lines these property owners. We have not annexed the county road.
Correct.
Because we're not on both sides, we don't. The county wants to keep that road for.
Do they want to make it bigger? No. There's not even a shoulder. There's no shoulder. There's no shoulder. No, I know that. I go up and down it every day. It's like,
Mayor, let me just comment. Since there's two council members abstaining, it will have to be a yes or no vote. Will have to be unanimous between the three with all three of them, one way or the other. If any one of them votes opposite of the other two, then the vote will fail and it will be automatically denied.
I figured that's what will happen. So looking at that right there, that shows the county road being annexed. Is that correct?
Yes. You're talking about the lineup, right?
Yeah, that's the annexation now.
Payson Road, huh?
The road will still stay under the county's ownership. We will not take over the road, but it will be widened when this part of that.
But the annexation plan doesn't show.
yeah, that's right there.
Like the cross sections.
This is the annexation plan.
Yeah, but there's a cross section on another sheet that shows the width of the proposed road.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it shows that we're annexing.
It would be at the same.
We would not have jurisdiction over it, even though we have jurisdiction just to the east.
We talked to the county, they want to keep ownership of the property.
But did they say what?
Because it's a truck route and they want to keep it. It's a corridor for the county.
I have a question really quick. If that is annexed, if that road, even though it's county, will the road itself and the property that butts up on the north, will that be zoned industrial? If that's in the industrial.
Currently, I think the industrial is just on up to that second set of railroad tracks. It's not extending, except there is a little area that we're willing to talk about that to the north that go over that railroad right there. It's soft over that road.
So I'm talking about the road. If the property that's on 9600 that is a county road,
The general color plan.
but if it's in your zoning area, will it be industrial?
No, that's what I'm trying to
It'll be a public facility.
Oh, yeah,
Land
that's
you
what
got.
I wanted to.
But when that plan shows that you're coming across the road, you're coming across the road, and like you just mentioned a second ago, if you have anything across the road, then it can keep going. Right. If you stop at that road, I understand roads and center lines, if you stop at that road. Oh, the intention is not, but that's what the map is showing. And if somebody ever has a question and they come back and look at that, and they wanna try to extend what maybe you say, hey, that looks good, it's a good plan, you're opening yourself up for issues, because that diagram is not solid.
So the annexation boundary does include the road. If you're assigning zoning, it will be assigned to whatever zone you want it to be. Customarily, roads are right of ways, and so we don't. They're public facilities. However, the point is well taken that there would be the actual zoning of that property would be shown on a map as including the road.
But I don't think our general plan extends on the other side of that road.
That's what
You can't vote on it. You're Russian.
Zoom in there.
This is actually the area that's in consideration. Our general plan actually shows that the corner of that property is a commercial use on the general plan. To the south, where the Lurwells live, and the Carols, that's actually supposed to be, well, it's shown as high density housing. And then expansion of this office, commercial, and industrial back here. So you can. The recommendation of staff is that 4th North and 9600 create a really good buffer for those uses. So 4th West, my bad. 4th West and 9600 North create a really good buffer because we don't see the point of extending high density residential across 4th West. That doesn't make any sense. The commercial node there, that might be something to consider in the future. Right now, we feel that an I-1 zone makes more sense, as well as this pink is called office commercial, office flex, excuse me, and it intended to be those light industrial internal uses that we see. Let me be very clear though. Council, you have the opportunity to assign zoning at this point. If you want to proceed with annexing the property, you have the ability to assign zoning. And if you don't feel that the I-1 makes sense, maybe for the Lurwells property or some of these smaller ones, maybe zoning it as A5H, as holding makes more sense.
What's that?
Agricultural holding zone. Okay. So those are just some things to consider. As staff has reviewed this, we felt that created a really good buffer area for those uses because it connects to existing industrial areas that we've identified on our general plan and are moving forward and have made decisions and moved forward with as a light industrial area within the city, right?
That you mentioned with the Lurwells, could that be included in the motion?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So oil and water,
so
mix industrial and residential right on top of each other. Their backyard has
so that is going to, the mix of uses is going to occur. So even if it was zoned light industrial, if all of that property was zoned light industrial, that becomes legally non-conforming. They can continue having a home there for as long as possible. Everybody, as long as feasible, as long as you want. The point has also been made, and is very, very true, that those other properties also have the new ability to participate in those light industrial uses that are approved in our zoning plan. This is an area of transition. This is how many different parts of cities on the fringes continue to develop. There are lots of other homes in our city where you have a residential use that might at one time have been surrounded by other residential uses, but has transitioned over time. But this is one opportunity that the city council does have to say, well, if we have those smaller parcels like the Carrolls or like the Lurwells, maybe the I-1 industrial doesn't make sense in that one, and you could do a less intense agricultural zone or something like that. Just food for thought.
And again, that can be handled
in the motion. That could be taken care of.
As part of a yes vote on the annexation, you have to assign zoning to something. So it's up to whoever makes that motion and then a second and then a vote on it to determine whether or not those become either industrial or something else.
Do we let this motion die if we want to table it and have more time? No, nobody has yet. Okay, council, I think we've had through the discussion. Is there a motion that someone would like?
What's that?
Because I didn't know.
Make the motion.
I move that we table this for now and give us some time to look at how it can go together with a piece of yellow, with like different colors on there. Because if that's where the people are at that are not involved in the annexation, you know, that may give them some peace of mind too, to know that, you know, they don't have to be that industrial. And maybe in 20 years they may want to be that industrial, but right now it's not what they want.
We'll make that motion if that's what you like.
So I move that we remand it back to staff and that we discuss this further. We're gonna have another discussion about this. As far as wheat and the yellow, well, is that gonna go to agriculture 5? Is it just gonna go to green? Well,
what was the designation, Robert?
Yeah, what do you want me to put?
Nothing. If you're
I'm just
okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion that's been seconded, starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
I say no, it dies anyhow. So, but so I'll say yes. So $3 grand and discuss it. Okay,
it has been tabled. They're abstaining.
And go ahead.
Verbalize it.
I officially abstain.
Brett?
You still there?
You still there, Brett?
He
Okay, he said he had to go.
He did
No.
abstain.
He said he'd abstain. Yeah, okay.
Just so everyone's aware, the public hearing was heard and closed. So when this comes back, it will not be a public hearing any longer.
Okay. Hey, Jim, thank you for being here. Okay, moving on to number 2.
Come on, stay for the rest. It's fine.
Okay, number 2, ordinance amendment of the general plan, specifically to Spring area specific.
So Mayor, let me correct you on that. It's not Spring Lake, it's Spring Creek.
Can you legally vote on that where it says Spring Lake and the Spring Creek residents? The Spring Creek residents didn't have a chance, not as the agenda said, Spring Lake. I don't think you should legally be able to vote on it where the agenda is correct.
you might consider hearing the presentation and then maybe tabling and putting it on another. Yeah. It says Spring Lake. So on the agenda. And that's okay. That's okay. We'll discuss it and we'll table. Yeah. No one is perfect.
When I was the secretary for 30 years, I know those technical fees.
Yes. No one is perfect.
It happens.
But I think the discussion will be valuable. And I think the discussion will inform you for the next time. Okay. So if you're okay, I'll go ahead with the discussion. Is the discussion okay?
Will this make it not open next time?
The public hearing has already occurred on this item. So
the public hearing on this one. No, not here, but there was. That's right.
Planning Commission held a public hearing, and let me just talk about that really quickly. I thought the discussion was really, really good. I thought there was a lot of public hearing and a lot of people testified on this. And I would encourage you to, if you haven't watched it, watch it or read it or listen to it. There was a lot of, people are really passionate about this area, and I think that's really important to know. Let me give kind of just a brief understanding of what we're talking about tonight. So this is the Spring Creek Area Specific Plan. And I've been really privileged to be participating in this process for a couple of years now. And it's been really good. Sometimes I question my life choices as a planner. But this is one that I think, okay, yeah, I did the right thing. But this is what you see in red on this map is what was originally intended for the area to be considered. When we continue to look at it, we felt that it should be expanded just to make sure that we have a more contiguous area, and those areas are really important in the discussion as well. I went over this last time at Planning Commission, and I've said this many, many times before, but it bears repeating. Understanding what something is and is not is really important. A specific area plan is a document that's designed as an advisory guiding document. And the whole purpose of it is to create a tool for property owners, for staff, for neighbors, for city council members and planning commission members to understand how an area will develop into the future. In Payson, we have a general plan that gives us really good guidance and direction on the entire city. And the intent of a general plan is to look at the city from the 10,000 foot level. A specific area plan is just that. We're looking at a specific area of the city, and we come down to about the 500 foot level. So we can get a little bit more detail, a little bit more understanding. A specific area plan is not a new zoning map. It's not an annexation petition. It's not a change to any current zoning ordinance. And it doesn't require property owners to change how they're using their property. It's really important to understand that property owners determine when land use changes. And the purpose of this is just to anticipate that change and give guidance for the future. As I mentioned, I've been involved in this process for about 2 years, and it was occurring for about a year before I got involved. And there was a steering committee that was formed, and shortly after I got involved, we expanded that steering committee. Let me be very clear. Steering committees are not intended to have everybody sing kumbaya and arrive at consensus. It's to hear everybody's voice, to hear everybody's understanding, but also to give guidance for implementing the general plan. That's the purpose of this. And one of the things that has resulted from this is what we have as a Spring Creek Area Plan future land use map. This provides for a mix of housing types in the area, some neighborhood scale commercial nodes. That's what's shown in red. Some expanded business park area in between the railroad track and Spring Creek. Some expanded light industrial use, which is some of those areas of the IFA parcel, and making sure that we can understand what those uses are going to be in the future. Let me point out really quickly, and this was a recommendation of the Planning Commission that I made sure to show them.
We need to have quiet.
Thank you. I don't know how the word heavy got in here, but it doesn't belong here. So one of the recommendations is to make sure that heavy industrial is completely taken out. It's just light industrial uses. And then some additional parks and greenways. I've said this before, one thing that you don't see on this plan is a big swath of a green patch that says this is where the park is supposed to go, because we don't know that answer yet. That is determined by an algorithm that's in the Parks and Rec Master Plan, the Parks Master Plan, to say we need X amount of space for residential units, and it should be in proximity, and this is where that should go. So we know that parks are going to be on here. We know that possibly churches and more churches, or maybe even a school or something. Those are things that come with the uses that are prescribed on here. One thing that I want to point out specifically about this plan, and you'll hear a lot and have heard a lot, is density of this plan. The general plan calls for this area to be approximately 2 to 5 units to the acre, density-wise. Gross density of this area as calculated by the number of units and the area subtracting from the business areas is 1.78 units to the acre for the gross density. When we take out roads and parkways and things like that to get a net density calculation, it comes out to 2.54 units to the acre. That's really critical to point out. That doesn't happen very often. And we feel that this is really important to bring out, to say this is possible because we put density in the right locations. On this map, you'll see that there's a little bit of brown. That brown represents areas that could be up to 8 units to the acre. We've located those areas strategically along transportation corridors, at the intersection of transportation corridors, to allow buffering to the lower density single family areas. These green areas, those are a minimum of 1 acre per unit. These lighter yellow areas, those are up to 2 units to the acre. So really not a lot of density in this plan. You'll notice that there are yellow dots located in this plan. We left those on there specifically so everyone would know where the existing homes are on this plan. Those represent existing single family houses. So plans are impactful, and they represent possible change. So I went through this already. These are just kind of the rural residential estate areas and the large lot rural residential. Low density residential, this is kind of what we're thinking. Single family detached homes, average of 4 units to the acre. And those are all the areas in yellow. These mixed density residential areas, we wanted to provide a space where you could have a smaller lot and possibly have single family like detached on small lots, possibly a cottage home type of development enclave, and some townhouses could be allowed in these areas. This is kind of just giving a visual representation of what we would envision for a neighborhood scale commercial area. I've said a lot of times that it would be great for people to be able to get what they need for Saturday morning breakfast. I've been reminded by my friends out there many times that they just go to their backyard for what they need for Saturday morning breakfast. But someday, some of those people might not have that convenience. So I wanted to make sure that there was a space for them to not have to go all the way to Walmart or all the way to Payson Market in order to get a few things. Preservation of open space and parks and greenways is really important in here. The title of the plan is Spring Creek. That's a really important natural feature of the area, and we intend to make sure that that becomes a really great amenity throughout the entire plan space. Future expanded business park and light industrial areas. Those are uses that are intended to be enclosed. They will have associated traffic and jobs created from those areas. So we made sure to put them as a buffer of the railroad tracks and along existing corridors. Eventually, we anticipate that there will be really great access to the freeway from 800 South. A lot of effort went into the infrastructure planning for this plan. This indicates the drinking water plan, the best understanding that there's probably going to need to be an additional water tank that would serve possibly a well somewhere located in this area. Right now we have a really good well at Red Bridge that will serve this area for a long time, but eventually a build out will probably need another one. This is pressurized irrigation, just giving a good indication of where we need gravity, for pressurized irrigation to work. So possibly putting a pond up on West Mountain and just how that would flow. And then sanitary sewer is really important. As the area develops, this just gives a general indication of how the sewer would flow north, and a regional lift station would be somewhere in this vicinity, which we would anticipate. There may be others that would serve individual or areas of this plan, but this is kind of just giving the general overview of how it would work. I mentioned last week, and I'll mention again, those 3 slides represent tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure that would be required to be put in. That would be at the expense of developer, not at the expense of Payson City residents. Planning Commission, like I said, was very, very helpful. We appreciated all of those that came out and shared testimony that night. Overwhelmingly, the testimony that was shared at that Planning Commission was concerns about this area, opposition to the plan. We recognize that. We don't want to in any way dilute that. Planning Commission discussion was extensive. Lot of opportunity to hear and to express opinion. There were a couple motions that were made, the first of which was actually to remand the plan back to staff and look at the possibility of reducing the density, especially along the 8 South corridor as the road travels west to 5600 West, if there was a possibility of reducing that. That motion was seconded but did not pass. Another motion was made to forward a positive recommendation to the City Council. That motion did pass, but it was a 4-2 vote. So this does come to you with a positive recommendation, but it's important to note that there were some that did not vote for that. This slide is irrelevant now, but when you do see this again, I think it's important to note that staff has gone through this process, and again, we express appreciation for all the time and effort that everybody has put into this, for coming out and showing their real concern for this area. A couple weeks ago, we had our most recent open house for this. I was able to stand here for about an hour and 45 minutes and answer questions, and that was a really great opportunity to listen and to be heard. At this time, like has been mentioned, we would suggest that rather than vote on this, that you would just table it. We'll make sure that it's noticed properly, the title. But I'm also available for any questions or anything that you want to go through.
You ask questions.
Yeah, that map right there.
This one?
Yeah, leave that one.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Can we ask questions now?
Yep.
So you show 8 South there and you show a proposed alignment. Is that set in stone?
So that's a really, really important point that I wanted to bring up. And I can even bring up the 8 South study that was done, because that 8 South corridor really represents an integral part of this plan, right? Payson City had a desire to make sure that there was a good connection from the freeway to 5600 South, so they commissioned, 5600 West. I'm all sorts of combobulated tonight. So we commissioned a study to look at that. That study went through several alternatives, looking at a variety of factors. That had an extensive steering committee that included MAG, that included UDOT, that included UTA, staff, and many others. This alignment represents the best alternative when it came to a variety of factors that involved area to get up over 2 railroad crossings, land in a place that would not be a significant impact to wetlands, and then to create a good corridor straight west. I think the other alternative that was closely considered was one that did a very similar crossing, but then when it landed up here, and we'll call this 690 South, that's how it's referenced in the study, then it would jog back down, and so it creates a big S, jogged back down to about 790, and then continued on to 5600 West. I was reading in the report today that was not preferred by UDOT, just because of alignment issues, creating a big S, all those sorts of things. So that's why that was not the preferred alternative, and this one is. The city council did vote on this. It's part of our transportation master plan, but this represents a corridor. To answer your question in a really long roundabout way, this represents a corridor. No official EIS has been done, no engineering has been done for this, because it's not warranted at this time. There's nowhere near the amount of traffic out there that would say we absolutely have to have this corridor right now and this road right now. But we anticipate that one day it will be a vital corridor, and so we have to plan for it, and that's why it's in this plan where it's at.
As you mentioned, the EIS, if we did the EIS now, it could expire before it's.
Correct.
That's why it's not being done.
Another question is, say we were to adopt this at some later date when it actually is noticed correctly. That doesn't change anything that's happening now, correct? Out there, it doesn't do anything to properties that are there existing.
That's correct.
Make sure that that's clear. That doesn't
The only
change
thing that
anything.
precipitates any of this is people selling the property and going into development.
That's right.
The city's not gonna do any precipitate this at all.
Yeah, the city is not going out and doing an active annexation petition for any of these properties, but we get a lot of questions from folks in this area that are either interested in selling their property, or they've put it up for sale, and then some potential buyers come and say, what can I do on this property? And all we have right now is our general plan that says out in this area, supposed to be 2 to 5 units to the acre. And we want to see an expanded business park, and we want to see some additional industrial use. Good luck.
Kurt, I don't know whether you were here when we had this big long discussion, and we actually asked staff to work with the Finches, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Did we not?
Mm-hmm.
Because we created them an island of a triangle. Have we gotten anywhere with that?
Yeah, so one of the Finches was on our steering committee.
Okay.
And one thing that we can continue to look, so a lot of that property is right here, especially in these triangles that would be created,
right.
That have really hard opportunities for access and things like that. Those create opportunities for corridor preservation. MAG has some funding that we can actually go in and possibly look at the opportunity of buying those corridors. So in order to allow the property owner to have some compensation for what would essentially be an unusable piece of property. But maybe there are some other uses, I'm not sure. But we continue to have those conversations.
As long as we address the residents that are there. Yeah. UDOT has given their tentative approval of that specifically.
So UDOT, and it was reported in the study and in the report that was adopted, UDOT agreed that this was the best alternative.
If I remember, there were about 5 or 6 different ones that you.
Yeah, there were 5 or 6.
Okay.
So this was kind of informational.
Yep.
But I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Make that motion.
It's noticed.
I asked you this already on Red Bridge. How do we find out if they're knocking that down? Or...
So great question. So Councilmember Hyatt did call me today and said, well, there's a possibility is that bridge actually being knocked down? Would they need this? That information wasn't available during the study. The consultants actually used the requirements as far as vertical clearance and horizontal right-of-way in designing and deciding on the best corridor for that. Whether or not, if the bridge is gone, I'm not sure if there's a height difference that would be required again, but logic would say that there's probably another bridge that would need to be there. And so erring on this side of caution, they made sure to provide that corridor and clearance at a rate that even if a bridge was reconstructed, it could be within the clearance of that area.
So it would go even higher than
no, so any new railway bridge would be able to fit under the corridor that's been tentatively planned.
Oh, that's kind of what they do anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't have a crystal ball when we were doing it.
I wish I did, but it's been broken for years.
I think what was interesting, Monday, I believe I read an article at UTA is wanting to do a study of rapid rail from Salt Lake City to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that would be that corridor.
Mm-hmm. Most likely.
That was either Monday or Tuesday, and I read that. So.
I'll try this again. I move that we table this until we know it's correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and then seconded to table this discussion and action.
Yes.
Council
Yes.
Council Carter?
Yes.
Council Beecher?
Yes.
Okay. Item's been tabled. Okay, Travis. Number 3, ordinance, amendments to Title 5 stormwater.
Mayor and council, I'm hoping this will be the quickest and most painless part of the meeting tonight. So, I hope not, but so based on the stormwater audit that we received from the state, we had to update a lot of documents, and this was one of them, was to update the stormwater ordinance. Some of the stuff we updated in it was the enforcement actions, that so we can actually, you know, if somebody's doing something, whether it's SWIP related or stormwater related, we have a way to find them easier. Obviously, we had to meet a lot of state requirements that weren't necessarily updated in it. We had to clean up some language that was inconsistent, and then just make it more consistent, you know, with how it read and match with some of our current engineering and development guidelines, so that it was, you know, we didn't have something in one document, something in a different that didn't match. So those were the main changes of why we did this. And so obviously this requires your vote to approve this.
Changes from storm sewer to storm water.
Yeah, we wanted to make it consistent. Kim worked with us, and we had like 3 different ways that it was called, which all are technically correct in our industry, but for other people, it makes it confusing when you're calling it stormwater, storm sewer. You know, it definitely works for me and my industry, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to all of you guys. So we wanted to make that more cohesive and obviously less confusing. So.
Okay. Any further discussion with council?
That's an easy one.
I move that we approve the amendments to Title 5 stormwater as presented by
Mr. Yokoman.
Yeah.
I can pronounce it correctly if you'd like.
Only if you pronounce mine correctly.
That's true. Yours probably gets slaughtered as much as you like.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded on the amendments to Title 5 stormwater. So roll call vote, starting with Council Beecher.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Fosco.
Yes.
Council Wyatt.
Yes.
Thank you. The work session has been canceled. There's no need for that tonight, and so I would accept the motion to adjourn.
I thought we had a closed session scheduled.
You do not. On here, must be canceled.
If that agreement gets signed, it will be a public document. We'll just discuss it. Which I'm assuming it should be within the next few weeks.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Sure.
I did.